Millennium Friday is brought to you by Boston Pizza's new game day menu. Stop by your local BP for $7 touchdown pints, shareables for the whole crew, and weekly prizing up for grabs. Football game days are better at your local BP. Mike DiStefano filling in for Brian Hayes. Got Dave Feschuk and Jason Strudwick with us for the rest of the regulars. They'll be back in the next couple of weeks. They'll be back. Luke Willson going to join us in just a moment, go over what we saw happen over the course of the last couple of days and the Week 17 slate of the NFL season coming up. We got to make our picks. It's crazy how we're already at Week 17. Like it seems like the football season has just flown right by.
It does fly by, man. It's crazy that we are almost finished 2024 and we're heading into the playoffs before you know it. I mean, great though. Best time of year, NFL playoffs.
Oh, you got NFL playoffs. You got the college games coming up. So you got this new playoff format too, which I guess was unveiled last week. So we got the 12-team playoff format. You've got Saturday games. You've got the World Juniors. It really is a good time to be a sports fan around the holidays. I mean, you've got Canada going up against Latvia tonight. Leafs, Detroit tonight. Still excited about that. I don't know if you saw. I was taking a look at the lines from earlier today too. Looks like they're going back to the McCabe and Tanev deep pairing. So I'm excited about that. Johnny going to join us in about 30 minutes. We'll get his thoughts on that and about the Canada-Latvia game as well. But joining us on the line now is...
Wilson is cooking. Girl, you know it's true.
It's Luke Willson, former NFLer, TSN NFL analyst, and one half of the Owen Wilson team, who lost last night's game, actually, Luke. How did you feel getting suckered by the hook there last night?
I mean, I was pretty annoyed, especially at halftime. We're up 3, in complete control of the game. Caleb Williams looks like junk, and I'm like, Seattle should at least punch 1 in here. And then I'm not sure if I was more annoyed that we didn't get the hook or more annoyed that I wasted 3.5 hours of my life watching that joke of a football game.
Yeah, it really was.
Kind of a combination.
It wasn't a great football game. And really, all three, there wasn't a super compelling game. Christmas Day was billed. All right, you've got 2 playoff games, right? You've got Chiefs and Steelers. You've got Ravens, and then you've got the Texans. All 4 teams battling for the playoffs. But it didn't turn out to be close at all in either game. I mean, does that just prove the playoff or the Super Bowl contenders from the pretenders in the AFC?
Alsbro, to a degree, yes. But I also think, I love to use the term like margin for error when it comes to winning games in this league. And you let's go with the Houston-Baltimore game. It's like if you're going to play Baltimore, no matter who you are, you just don't have that much room to make mistakes. And then when your quarterback goes out there and can't throw the ball to wide open receivers consistently, you're going to get smoked. That's kind of what it proves to me. The good playoff teams, they don't make those mistakes. And if teams do that while they're playing against them, they're going to blow you out of the building. And the same thing happened in the Pittsburgh game. You look at that game, could have easily been somewhat close. But Russ throws the pick in the end zone, and the next thing you know, the game starts to get a little bit away from it. And I would say also it kind of made Pittsburgh a bit one-dimensional in the second half, which is definitely not what they want to do. And that game got pretty ugly too. So I think a lot of it goes to show, you better be locked in earlier. This thing can get very ugly.
So, Luke, Lamar Jackson throws another couple of TDs, has another great game where he shows he is a master of the sport. And we're not at the finish line of the season. There was a time a few weeks back when people were declaring the MVP race over and anointing Josh Allen as the heir apparent. I mean, do you think this thing is still alive? Do you think there is a real sort of wind in the sails of Lamar Jackson here as we come to the conclusion of the year?
It's funny because I think I view this award differently than how the writers view it or whoever votes. And I've kind of learned through the world of being in the media how, quote unquote, little some of these people that are voting actually know about football, and it's very appalling. I think Josh is locked. Do I think that's debatable? as far as like, should he be locked? No, I think it's probably him versus Lamar, but I think Josh is going to win it no matter what, mainly because Lamar now has Derrick Henry. And again, I'm not saying that, Josh shouldn't get it because he's played out of his mind, but it's bizarre how this award has like transformed into like, okay, if we're not just going to look at stats, we're going to look at who people have around him. I look at Brock Purdy last year. Guy wasn't even close to winning, yet his stats said he should have most likely won. And now it's this year. It's like Lamar probably is going to end up with better numbers than Josh. And now part of that's not Josh's fault. You look at it now, the Bills really have nothing to play for. They're pretty much locked into what they're doing. They're not going to win the 1 seed, where Lamar's going into the last week of the season. If they lose and the Steelers find a way to win, they lose home field in the first round. So, it's not Josh's fault, but then also the people that vote are like, well, Lamar had Derrick Henry, so now that kind of lessens his case, and Josh gets it. So it is a bit of a strange award, but I highly, would be shocked if Josh Allen doesn't get it. And then the next thing I'll say about the MVP award that is a bit funny to me is I look at this thing and I think, and I do not think they're going to make it, unfortunately, but I think that if somehow Cincinnati sneaks in, you got to put Joe Burrow in the conversation. And again, to me, I look at it and say, like, if we're going down the route of how much help does he have? He obviously has Jamar Chase, but defensively they're atrocious, real bad. So I don't really get what the parameters for the award are, but based on what I think I know about it, I'm going to go Josh 99%.
Luke, Eric Dickerson doesn't want Saquon Barkley to beat his rushing record, and I get it. I think it's unfair that they have additional games to run the same amount of or more yards than guys in the past. It'd be like you and I playing golf, me playing from the tips, of course, and you playing from the forward tees, and us comparing scores at the end of the day. So, how could they make this more equal, or should they make it more equal?
It's funny. I don't know, and it kind of goes back to when I thought of this, I thought of I'm a bit of a baseball guy. Thought of Roger Maris beating Babe Ruth's home run record.
Right.
And I believe there's an extra amount of games there. And I sat there and when you talk about the home run record now, nobody mentions that Babe Ruth played less games. So I get right now we're probably all saying, oh, well, Saquon had one extra game. Well, in 25 years, if Saquon's record stands, which it could, assuming he breaks it, I am shocked that anybody has even come close in today's day and age of running backs and how they split carries and how much more passing in this league. So I feel for Eric Dickerson. I don't think it's fair, but right now it's kind of the nature of the beast. But it is what it is. I get why he doesn't want it broken, because that's one record, and you never know, but that's one record where I would be shocked if it's broken, within the next 10, 15 years.
All right, Luke, it's time to get down to brass tacks here, buddy. It's time to make our picks for Week 17, all right? You're coming off a pretty tough week, so you got to make sure that you can get your act together here, because if you blow it this weekend, this thing's basically done. We might as well just make Week 18 a bye. So you ready to go, pal?
Again, I'm just 62% shooter. Your ridiculous quotes right there. Got to get jammed on a hook. Bad week. My guy, I've never been more ready in my life. I live for this. I live for this stuff.
All right, let's get to it. First game is Hayes and Brome. We're looking at the 1 o'clock slate on Saturday. Chargers laying 4.5 against the New England Patriots. And let me tell you, I'm kind of surprised that it's this short of a number. The Patriots are an absolutely awful football team. The Chargers, they're going to the playoffs. Justin Herbert's been playing at a really good level. That defense suffocates bad offenses, and that's exactly what the Patriots are. You look at J.K. Dobbins. He's coming back. I think he'll put a little bit more pep in the step of that run game, give them a dual threat to attack that Patriots defense. And when you look at what the Chargers have done over the course of the season, 5 straight covers versus non-playoff teams. They dummy non-playoff teams. So I am laying the points, Hazenbro, laying the points -4.5 against the Patriots.
Yeah, I don't mind. I mean, the Patriots played the Bills tough last week. It's a home game. I think the Chargers are a bit overrated. Not a ton to play for. Again, I don't mind that pick. I don't mind. I've done the math. I think I need to go 8-4 on the way out. So that's a good start. I think I'm 1-0 there.
All right. Well, how you going 2-0? You got Broncos, Bengals is the afternoon slate tomorrow. Bengals laying 3.
Yeah, I'm going Bengals all day. As I just heard me say, I'm a big believer in Joe Burrow right now. They're passing incredibly well. I think the guy's playing at an MVP level. I will also say that, I think that the Broncos are a bit fraudulent in the sense of, should I say this? I think they're 1-6 against teams above 500. So, again, a lot to play for the Bengals. They've played very well. This record, as we know, could easily be different. The big worry is the Bengals defense, obviously. But that being said, I'm going with Joe Burrow. I like it. I think he wins this by 4 points or more.
I'm really excited about the Jamar Chase, Pat Surtain matchup in this game. And they take Jamar Chase out of it with the best DB in the NFL. I think there's a chance we could see a little upset city coming from this one. I mean, the Broncos, they lose this game. They give the Bengals an opportunity to win and make the playoffs. So there's a lot to play. There's a lot on the line for both teams here. I don't mind being on the dogs on this one. Don't mind it one bit. All right. Hazenbro, we got Rams, Cardinals, and the Rams laying 6.5 points. This one was a tough one, I'll be honest. This one was a toughie, and I was going back and forth with Partsy, and the Rams have consistently absolutely beaten down the Cardinals, but we haven't seen a spread like this. Only once in the last 10 years has there been a spread this large between these two divisional opponents. So based on that, and the fact that I don't think the Cardinals are as bad as what we saw last week, they lost to the Panthers. I think they'll want to finish off the season strong. I don't know if they'll win this football game, but I think they'll give the Rams a little bit more of a run for their money. I do think they can cover the number. We'll take the Cardinals and the points in this one.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
You like the Rams.
I'm gonna just make sure I've got this correct. You're taking a team that last week lost to the Carolina Panthers.
Correct.
Is that correct?
Correct. That is correct. Bounce back. Big bounce back game.
Okay.
They've lost 4 of the last 5, Vals, brother.
They have. But look, Trey Benson's going to start this week.
They're eliminated from the playoffs.
Finish strong. Finish strong, Luke. I don't think they're going to win this game. Don't get me wrong. They're not going to win this football game. I don't believe so. Although, if I'm not mistaken, they did win earlier in the year.
Yeah, a lot's changed.
A lot has changed, but they played competitive against that team and won. I think they can keep it to within a touchdown. That's all I'm saying. Keep it to within it's just so many points in a divisional game. So many points.
All right. You got it at 6.5. Is that correct?
Yeah, that is correct. 6.5. 6.5. Bills, Jets. Right. You got Bills, Jets in the afternoon game on Sunday. Jets Bills laying 9.5 here.
Yeah, I'm taking Jets. And I know you probably think that's nuts, but I'm going to go from a past experience thing here. I look at this thing. The Bills have literally nothing to play for, 0 things. Jets, they have guys playing for their jobs. So I'm not saying the Bills are going to rest guys, but they're pretty much locked into the 2 seed right now. So I sit here and say, okay, even Josh Allen mentioned last week, quote unquote, like we're not opening up the playbook, which I think was a bit of a, he's a bit lighthearted when he said that. But I look at this thing and I say, okay, 9.5, certainly a lot of points. If it's, 14 points in the fourth quarter in this game, there's no way Josh Allen should be playing.
Excuse me?
Because he's your correct. If they're up 14 points in the fourth quarter, why would you have Josh in there anymore?
I think Josh will want to play in this game, though. I mean, as we talked about before,
I'm not saying that. I said in the fourth quarter.
I get that.
Even on defense, you sit here, you cannot risk this guy getting injured. And again, he's going to play, I'm saying, late in the game if they're up and we get a greasy backdoor cover. Even defensively, though, and offensively, this is a game where if you're a coach, you're sprinkling things in to throw teams off. We would do this all the time. Okay, game that doesn't have a ton of meaning. We'll put our starters in there. Generally, when you scout other teams, you take a couple teams that you think match up with your offense. I'm talking about as an offensive guy. And then you run their last 3 or 4 games back because teams kind of shift throughout the year. So I look at this thing and I say, if I'm the Bills coaching staff, I'm trying to break all my tendencies. If we have a tendency of running this play on 3rd and 5 and that's my go-to, I'm making a point of emphasis not to call said play on 3rd and 5. Throw teams off. Maybe we like doing this. Again, change things up. Even things that we were working on but we don't feel great about, we've been working on for 3-4 weeks, whether it's some run action, whether it's defensive structure, who knows. This is the game to go out there and try it. And if you get burned, you get burned. The Jets, this is going to be like their Super Bowl. They're trying to have good vibes going into the offseason. 9.5 points is a lot. That's why I'm going there. I think the Bills win, but I like the idea of a greasy backdoor cover from the Jets.
Did you talk to your Partsy about this? This is one of those games where I guarantee you Jeff O'Neill looks at you and says, Partsy, big picture. Big picture.
Bazooka. I don't know where this guy is, man.
He's up in Ottawa.
He's abandoning the team, man, in moments of need.
He needs you on this pick because that's an absolutely insane selection. Josh Allen still has an MVP to play for. We just saw on FanDuel. Those odds have been tumbling.
You're a Bill simp like the rest of TSN, man. Okay? I don't want to hear this nonsense.
Big game. You're going to see it happen. Big game out of Josh Allen. He's going to cover double digit, and you're going to be losing a lot of games this week. Next up, Packers-Vikings. Figures that we got to pick Packers-Vikings because it puts Hazy B in such a bind whenever we got to pick a Green Bay game. So he put this one on me, and he said, Partsy, it's up to you. And look, I absolutely believe that the Vikings are the real deal. I think they're a good football team. But right now, you can get points with the Packers. Points with the Packers. And I think we got to go that route. What you've seen out of Jordan Love the last couple of weeks, Jordan Love's played some excellent football. That offense is starting to get it going. Defensively, they're starting to get healthier, and they're out there playing. I think they could shut down this passing attack and do their best to pressure Sam Darnold and put up enough points to not only cover, but win the game. It's getting 1.5. I think you win this one on the money line. We're taking the Packers and the points.
I mean, it is what it is, and it's not what it's not. That's all I'm going to say.
What does that even mean? What does that mean, Luke?
It is what it is, and it's not what it's not. You take the points, like 1.5, you're acting like it's a huge ordeal. Could be. You could thread the needle there, but I think this is the Vikings' game to lose. I think they go in here, they find a way to shred the secondary, which has been beat up. I think they're supposed to get healthier. And it's all setting up, even the NFL. After watching last night, I am convinced the NFL is completely rigged, and the refs have no idea what they're doing. They just do what Roger Goodell tells them. I think the refs want to see, or the NFL wants to see the Week 18 matchup, Vikings versus Lions for the division. So I think you're not only going to have to beat the Vikings, I think you're going to have to beat the refs, and I think that's why it's a bad pick.
Wow.
This guy out here claiming Roger Goodell is as bad as a commissioner as Doogie Goodell. Dougal?
He's worse. Doogie Goodell.
We got the Sunday Nighter coming up also. You've got the Commanders laying 4.5 points against the Falcons. Choose wisely. Choose wisely, my friend.
Yeah, I'm going here with the 4.5. I'm taking Atlanta.
Oh.
You look at points per game. I mean, the playoff hopes are on the line. The Bucs handed them a gift by losing a game to Cooper Rush. I understand, the wild card here is Penix Jr. What I would say and what I'm hoping is that you didn't really see a ton from him last week. He looked okay, looked good. Interception wasn't his fault. And it's hey, maybe he's going to come out here. The offense is a little different with him in it, a little harder for a team to plan for. And I look at the Commanders, they haven't really played great ball. Everyone wants to say last week, we're going to crown them because they beat the Eagles. They beat Kenny Pickett. Okay, they beat Kenny Pickett. Commanders on a 3-game win streak. The Commanders beat the New Orleans Saints the week before by 1 point. We all saw what New Orleans looks like. They beat the Tennessee Titans, also an absolute joke. Before that, they got absolutely drilled by the Cowboys, Eagles without Kenny Pickett playing, in Pittsburgh beat him by 1. I sit here and say 4.5 points. It's a huge playoff game. This game probably comes down to a field goal, and we cover this thing.
Apparently, it's the first time that we've seen 2 first-round quarterbacks in prime time go head-to-head. That was a stat that I saw earlier today, which kind of seems wild that we've never seen that before.
Yeah, that is pretty wild. Luke, I wanted to ask you about, you talked about Caleb Williams looking terrible, and we were talking about it earlier about, can you really judge a young quarterback when his offensive line is as bad as the Bears? I mean, what do you make of that?
So, to me, it's like, why do guys look terrible? And this is why I would say I'm a little nervous about Caleb. And obviously, I'm not going to write him off as a bust or anything like that. That would be absurd. But I sit here and say it's one thing if he's back there and I feel like he's not processing the game well, which I think he's, for a rookie, what I see of him is pretty much exactly where I'd expect him to be at. He's obviously not a Matthew Stafford right now, but he's, not completely clueless, which some guys in the league I find are. What scares me is that he just misses. He's not an accurate thrower of the football. And I remember, I think it was on Inside the NFL or something earlier. It was coming week 1, Bill Belichick had made a comment, and everyone was like, oh, Caleb had a sick preseason. And Bill, just being himself, was like, what are you talking about? The guy made a couple highlight plays, but he's like, dude, he was very inaccurate in preseason. And week in and week out, I sit here and I'm like, man, he's missing throws that have nothing to do with his offensive line. Again, they're not helping him, but he is missing very accurate throws, very easy throws for this level. And I'm like, that scares me. The flip side is the guy has an incredible arm. I mean, the 4th down they converted was a wild throw. I think there was a 3rd and 17 that he threw one where I'm like, that is unbelievable. You can count the number of people on planet Earth that can throw that football. But in the same breath, it's that doesn't really, you don't want to live and die by miraculous throws on 3rd and 17. We'd like you to sit here and accurately throw the football on 1st and 10 or 2nd and 7. So that we're not in 3rd and 17. So I am a bit worried about just the simple stuff with him. And I do also think that his coaching staff, especially after Eberflus was fired, has severely let him down. There was a point last night where I thought the Bears were purposely trying to lose. So that doesn't help either. No, I'm serious. You guys think I'm not even joking. I'm watching my pops. I'm in Windsor for the holidays, and I'm like, Dad, I can't wrap my head around. I think he's trying to lose. I think he's got something from. That's why I say I left last night. The NFL's got to be rigged. No human being on planet Earth can be an NFL head coach and misuse your timeouts like the Bears did yesterday.
For a second time.
Was after the game.
For a second time this year.
The quote after the game was, "I changed my mind." You don't get to, what do you mean you change your mind? You don't get to change your mind. You pick your pick and you roll with it. You don't blow a time. I mean, I'm not even going to go down this rabbit hole. So I am worried about some of the easy stuff, but in the same breath, it'd be nice if he had some functioning human beings around him that can kind of put him in a position to succeed. Like my old head coach, Pete Carroll. He goes there, he'll get him right. He'll get him right. Yeah.
You think that happens? You think Pete's ready to get back in?
I think, I know he's ready to get back in. That's 110% if Pete's ready. Are they going to let Pete back in? I don't know. But I'll tell you this right now, if Pete gets back in, first off, he's obviously got some USC ties, as does Caleb, obviously. Pete's going to have that team rocking and rolling. And I look at him and I'm like, on paper, the Bears roster is actually pretty good, minus their offensive line. Last year the defense was good. This year they've been hot and cold. Offensively, I sit here and say you got Keenan Allen, you got the youngster Oduzze, you got DJ Moore, you got Swift at running back, you got Caleb Williams at quarterback, who's supposed to be a generational guy, and you got Cole Kmet, who's probably the most underrated tight end, has been just in shambles because he was drafted to a joke of organization, but a very, very solid guy at tight end. You tighten up the offensive line and get a real coach in there, and I sit here and say, what can't we do?
Yeah.
But, the Bears will probably find some way to mess it up, but it is what it is.
Yeah, and I remember coming into the year was, the Bears, Caleb Williams, that's the best that a number 1 pick has been able to come into. Great situation. Has not quite turned out to be that. We'll see what year 2 can bring for him, but year 1 has It's not been good. Apparently, we got to make the Monday night pick as well today, Luke. So Lions laying 3.5 on the Niners.
Whoa. Why is that?
This is what I'm told. You can yell at Doogie for this.
Commissioner Doogie.
You got to yell at Doogie.
I'm on the text thread. That was not a part of the deal. You guys pick it on Monday.
We're not on Monday. Neither
Overcast,
myself.
adapt.
The holidays. My partsy's off for the holiday. We're making the pick. I'll make it quick and
I
easy
don't
because
care
it's
if
an
it's a
absolute
holiday or
lock.
not.
Absolute lock. The Lions are covering the number 3.5. They're going to smack the Niners, and the Lions are going to cover the number. Don't even need to have a quick little rant.
If this thing goes to 4.5, you guys are taking that number. I'm talking to Doogie Goodell after this. This was not spoken about in the text thread.
You think it's going to 4.5? You like the Lions pick that much, huh? Money coming in on the Lions, you think, over the weekend?
No, I would have taken the Niners, but
Well, then who cares? It does not matter. All right, buddy, we got to fly. But good chat as always. Good luck on your picks this weekend. We'll chat with you on Monday.
talk soon.
See you, buddy. Luke Willson, former NFLer and TSN NFL analyst. We got to go. We got MJ coming up on the other side here on OverDrive. OverDrive is brought to you by FanDuel, bringing you everything from the opening line to the final score. Mike DiStefano, Dave Feschuk, and Jason Strudwick in on OverDrive. And I was just checking to see if we've had any line movement in that Canada-Latvia game after we talked about it, discussed what the spread was. I think people were listening to the Hammer, the Canada talk earlier because it's gone up. It was at 6.5 a couple hours ago. Spread's now at 7.5 for Canada in tonight's World Junior matchup against Latvia. You can listen to it here on TSN 1050 at 7:30. Watch it across the TSN network as well. And the man who's going to be on the call is the man on the line. It's Mike Johnson, our former NHLer and TSN hockey analyst. What's going on, Johnny?
What's going on? Did you just call me the former TSN analyst? Did I just get fired on air?
Sorry to tell you, Johnny.
Something?
It's your
And if I just
your
got
pick
fired,
slips.
the hell am I doing on the radio still then?
Former NHLer and current TSN
Oh,
greatest hockey analyst we have, Mike Johnson.
that's more like the appropriate email that I sent you how to introduce me properly. Yes, thank you. All good. We're gearing up here for Canada. It should not be a particularly close game. Latvia will play hard. They'll battle, but they will be overmatched. And I imagine we'll hear the goal song several times as we go through the night.
Yeah, 7.5 on FanDuel for that's the spread tonight. 7.5 for Canada.
I'd say Canada, honestly. I mean, the thing that will limit them is if they sort of ease off, as opposed to, I would imagine, the opposition controlling the amount of goals they score.
Hey, you get plus money on that too.
Wow. Yeah, you don't want to bet the money line, MJ, because it's minus 100,000, meaning if you bet 100, you win 10 cents.
That's even on the long odds. I don't like the return on that one. Not quite. What's the over under? Is it 10?
8.5.
8.5. Again, I'd probably take the over when it's all said and done, but we'll see. The greatest challenge for this game, really, guys, is I think the players on Canada know what I just said to be true, and will they sort of revert back to their junior team tendencies, which is not what Dave Cameron is trying to get them to do. Dumping pucks in, smart plays in the blue line, third man high, don't force plays. Struddy, all the stuff that coaches tell you when you want to play properly, or will they be so much better than the other team? Like, you know what? I want to go back to junior where I take 90-second shifts and dangle guys left and right. That might be the thing that the coaching staff is watching for this one tonight.
Feels like a tune-up game, even though I know we're into the tournament. But what area of their game, after watching them, through some exhibition, then last night, do you think they really need to kind of just spend some extra time on?
I think they played quite well last night. I think the one thing that coaches always will want to clean up is the ability to move the puck out of their own end cleanly. I think, defensemen going back there, working with the goaltender, working with the forwards and making good passes and possessing it out of their own end. And then probably like a little finish. I mean, they scored, 6 in the one exhibition game against Switzerland. And beyond that, they haven't piled up goals. So maybe just having some guys finish and a little better, scoring goals would be one thing that they might be able to build some confidence with if they have a productive night tonight.
So they're billing them, MJ, as the caged kids. Matthew Schaefer and Gavin McKenna, both 17 years old. Schaefer eligible for the 2025 draft. McKenna not eligible for the draft until 2026. I mean, we saw the obvious skill both have, but what stood out to you about their performances?
So, I mean, McKenna, if you watch him, like, yes, he's smaller and young, but he's just perfect with his puck. Like, his hands are so good that it's fun to watch. Like, as soon as he gets it in any sort of open ice area, good things happen. That's fun. But the bigger story to me was Matthew Schaefer, who, as the game wore on, had absolutely zero stage fright. For a kid who's still quite young, he's got the cage on, he's not as experienced as the guys that he's playing with, and certainly the guys he's playing against, he was as noticeable in a good way as just about any defenseman with the puck for Canada joining the rush. I think he had 5 shots in the game. He played 21 minutes, whatever it might be. It's amazing his maturity and the fact that he is still at 17. He's like 6'1", 190. So he plays a physical game. He doesn't get bounced around physically like McKenna might, and he is a effortless skater. Never looks tired. He's very, very impressive. Now, James Hagan scored 4 points in America's first game. He might go first overall. Schaefer might go first overall, but he is defensemen that are underage don't play for Canada very often. I think Drysdale was the last guy to do it, and he didn't play a big role. This guy, by the end of the tournament, will likely be leading the team in ice time. Like, that's how good he is.
Who does he remind you of, MJ?
I mean, some people have said stylistically. Like, I hate making great comparisons, right? Like, I want to pick a guy who's a good player but not a great one. But Scott Niedermayer, right? Which is not fair to anybody because Scott Niedermayer is one of the greatest of the last 30 years. But just in style, like the way he plays, the way he skates, the way he manages the game, that sort of style, certainly maybe not that sort of skill or strength just yet, but, he's a really, he's not Cale Makar, he's not Quinn Hughes, like that kind of stuff, but he's just so steady and such an effortless skater that he makes it all look quite easy. With
Mike Johnson, our TSN hockey analyst, currently working for us here at TSN. Currently, and hopefully for a long time. There was a lot of talk, obviously, in the last few years about Canada's goaltending issues, and last night saw a great performance out of Carter George. Do you think that he has a chance to finally kind of become one of the great goalies here in Canada? Do we finally find one, MJ?
I mean, I love hyperbole on this tournament, but I'm not sure if one shutout is leading to greatness for the next decade as much as I wanted to, AB. Now, having said that, Carter George has won a gold at the under-18s. He won a gold as a starter at the Holinka. And if he wins gold here, he will be the only goalie to win all 3 golds. So he is having a lot of success at a very young age. His numbers are okay in junior. They're not lights out good, but he was really good last night, and we'll see how it goes because every year that I've been doing this tournament, it's sort of been a question mark where you weren't quite sure who it was going to be and how they were going to play, and would a second guy or a third guy emerge somehow. And right from day one around this team, there's 3 goalies. They're all very capable, but Carter George was the favorite to be the starter, and you saw why. Not just the saves, he stopped them all, but just how he looked while doing so. Very calm, very composed, very much under control, and that's what Canada's going to need. The games are going to stay tight when they get further down the line, and he's not playing tonight. Ivan Kovic is playing tonight, but I think Carter George is the starter for this tournament for as long as Canada goes.
What have you seen out of some other games that maybe you've really been surprised by or impressed by?
I tell you what, that American line. So they had it last year, Struddy, right? They had Gabe Perreault, who's Yannick Perreault's son. No panic, Yannick, my old liney in Toronto. They had last year Will Smith, who's the high pick for San Jose. And they had Ryan Leonard, who's like a 8th overall to Washington. Leonard could have left last spring to go to Washington, elected not to. Gabe Perreault returned to Boston College as well. They've been replaced, Will Smith, with James Hagan, who might be the 1st overall pick. And I was curious to see what that would look like in this tournament because they were dominant last year with Will Smith in between the two of them. And they were awesome against Germany. Lit them right up. Hagens had 4 points. Perreault had 3 points. I thought that line, and Hagens, who is pushing for 1st overall in 2025, showed why. Just great hands, really smart hockey sense, very good skater. the Americans have a lot of good players, like a lot of talented offensive players. They certainly stood out. And if you've watched Lane Hudson, can't remember the names here. If you watch Lane Hudson play in Montreal, he's got a clone in his brother Cole. Like he's exactly the same, little jitterbug dancing back and forth. And Cole had 5 assists and was +7 in the game against Germany. So a pretty good start for him as well.
So MJ, Leafs in Detroit tonight for the first of a back-to-back. They play at home to Washington tomorrow, and Austin Matthews not expected to play in either game for the Maple Leafs. Kind of interesting that Alex Ovechkin, who many have compared to Matthews, or Matthews has been compared to in terms of one of the great goal scorers in the league, coming back from a 16-game absence in all likelihood against the Leafs. Matthews will miss his 12th and 13th games of the season if he indeed misses both ends of the back-to-back. What do you make of this thing continuing on through the season, MJ? You talked the other day about, maybe they brought him back a little too early and maybe they need to rest him longer. But, what are you sort of making of the latest development here in Matthews' long injury saga?
Well, I mean, I guess given how long he was out and did not get healthy, is anyone surprised that he's not healthy now?
Yeah.
And I think the realization that him playing through whatever he's got is probably not going to allow him to get better while playing. I think that was the hope when he came back, that he was improved, but not 100%. Maybe he was at 85, and they thought, he can play through it, continue to get treatment, continue to get rest, and he'll get to 100 at some point while playing. And whether it's the cross-check from Gilbert or just the way he was playing and feeling when he came back, I think they now know that's unlikely to be the case. And if that's unlikely to be the case, then I don't think he can play until he's healthy. Like, the Leafs are going to make the playoffs with or without Austin Matthews in the regular season. But the Leafs will not advance deep in the playoffs without a healthy Austin Matthews. So whatever it takes, if he's able, whatever time, procedure, treatment, whatever continent he's got to go to get healthy, he should just go. Just go and do what you got to do. And if that means it's a month, if it's 2, and I don't want to get too far down the line, he might be back in 10 days. But, if it goes down the road, Kucherov off that guy, own that guy. Take the $14 million, get a whole new, defenseman and 2 wingers, and then have him return for the playoffs. That could happen eventually, but I think you got to get him healthy. However long you got to do, however long it takes, you just got to make sure he's 100% when he finally gets back to the lineup, which is not going to happen over the 5 days of a Christmas break.
Well, while he's out, MJ, how big of an opportunity is this for Mitch Marner to really step up and say, hey, I'm worth the money that I think I'm worth because I can lead a team, and he has an opportunity to do so as long as Matthews is out?
Yeah, I guess. I mean, I don't know if Mitch needs to prove that. I mean, Mitch has been one of the best right wingers in the league for 5 years. Yes, he has great players around him, and he still has very good players around him. He performed incredibly well when Matthew was out the first time, and if he continues to do so, I guess then he could claim, see, I can do it as well, pay me what I want, and maybe that helps his cause in negotiations. But I don't think Mitch should feel like he has to prove anything to anyone about how well he can play for the Toronto Maple Leafs.
Yeah, that's probably fair. I got one question for you before we get out here. I saw earlier today driving in that Mackenzie Blackwood signed a big deal, 5 years, $5.25 with the Colorado Avalanche. Kind of surprised. He's played 4 games with the team. Are you surprised that they latched themselves to him so quickly?
You're totally surprised. I mean, good on Blackwood. He must have been a really good dude in the first 10 days. Struddy,
12 good periods.
Impact. Yeah. That is good in the room. Stay in the room. $20 million, $25 million. Why not? Obviously, they've done their scouting. They've been chasing a goaltender and some consistency for a while now. They clearly believe it's him, not based on what he did in Colorado, but what he's based on what he's done, I guess, in San Jose and previously in his career in Jersey and other stops. And $5 million for a starter, if you get a good one or even a passable one, that is great value, and that's what they're going for. But that did raise my eyebrow a little bit, wow, that's not a big sample. And then when you read the statement, well, we wanted to get him in and see how he's going, and then maybe revisit that opportunity. I'm like, you waited 6 days. How much did you learn? or maybe how much did you need to? I don't know. But either way, congrats to him because he's had a long road coming back from injury, getting his game in order. And now he's on a great team where he doesn't have to be Shesterkin, doesn't have to be Sorokin or any of those guys. He can just be Darcy Kemper and go win a cup because the team can be that good in front of him.
Yeah, he's playing well, so like 931 save percentage since he got there.
Goalie.
Yeah, he has played well. Yeah. So, and they need goaltending desperately. So, hey, I hope that it all works out. I just thought it definitely piqued my interest as well today. So, oh, okay, that's rather quick to jump all in, but hey, that's what the Colorado Avalanche are all about sometimes. All right, Johnny, you got a call to do in a little bit. Good luck, and appreciate it. We'll chat again soon.
All right, boys. Appreciate it. AB, I'll send my resume to you as soon as I get off the phone. Thanks.
Okay, sounds good. Sounds good, buddy. All right, Mike Johnson, former NHLer and currently one of the best we have at TSN when it comes to analyzing the game of hockey, along with Jason Strudwick. What do you think?
That's why you included me. Am I in trouble?
Oh, no. You're a great analyzer of the game of hockey as well. Trying to give you try to prop you up here, buddy.
You know what? I appreciate it. I always like listening to John because he and I, although we arrive often at the same place, we see the game differently.
Yeah.
He's as a forward, they're always thinking about scoring, and as a D-man, I'm always thinking about defense. Now, since I've stopped playing, I've become a bit of a minor coach, and I do think more offensively. But it's always interesting to hear a guy like himself, these other guys that are more offensively, like O-Dog, obviously. Then you get the goalies where the only good position is goalie. Like they make the difference every night. But right. I do like hearing the way that those guys think. And, even when they talk about defense and or defending as a forward, because it's a way different place to come from than, as a D-man where you're kind of, the last line of defense, really.
Well, speaking of D-men, it sounds like, if I'm looking at this correctly, that Chris Tanev is expected to play tonight alongside Jake McCabe. So the line rushes are out. And yeah, Tanev, McCabe. So only a one-game absence, and that's great because the Leafs blue line looks very bleak without Chris Tanev. So for him to get back, to be alongside Jake McCabe, to get their, dynamic shutdown pair back together after a couple of weeks of trying different things, it looked like for Chief there. Hopefully they can get back in the saddle and, get back to the winning ways. They've lost 2 in a row. They play tonight against the Detroit, and then tomorrow they're taking on Ovi, apparently, and the Washington Capitals. We'll come back and we'll tee up the games, and we got our best bets coming up as well. I'm Mike DiStefano with Dave Feschuk and Jason Strudwick. You listen to OverDrive on TSN 1050 and on TSN Plus. Today's best bets are powered by FanDuel. Make your picks and assemble a same-game parlay in seconds on the FanDuel Sportsbook app. I like the over of 8.5 goals in tonight's Canada-Latvia game. I think that we'll see a lot of goal scoring, mainly on the Canadian side. Point night, if you will, could be a good opportunity for Gavin McKenna to rack up points. I know that Celebrini did the same last year, Bedard the year before that. And in the 4 meetings that these two teams have had, they've averaged 11.25 goals per game. So 8.5, I'll take the over there. And I like Bobby McMahon to get 2+ shots tonight in the game against the Detroit Red Wings. He's done this in 12 of his last 14 games this season. 2+ shots. You can parlay those two together over on FanDuel. Today's bets, powered by FanDuel. Download the FanDuel Sportsbook app today and find thousands of ways to play. Please play responsibly, 18+ and physically located in Ontario. So a couple games tonight. Got the World Juniors coming up, 7:30 right here on 1050. And then you got the Maple Leafs in action tonight as well, taking on Detroit. The new coach bump, will we see it? Do you think Detroit can finally end their losing streak, get back into the winning ways? Strud, is the new coach bump going to come through tonight?
Man. No, I think the Leafs, well...
They should win. They're the better squad on paper.
They are. Yeah.
But
you know what? I think I don't know what the numbers would suggest, but I thought going on the road for the first game after Christmas was better. I thought it was easier than staying home. So for that, I guess that evens out the coach bump and the better team wins, especially with Tanev in there.
Yeah, I like Tanev coming back.
Well, this is a Red Wings team. They couldn't have been playing much worse, which is why Derek Lalonde's no longer coaching them. You got to think there's some guys playing for their existence in Detroit.
Yeah.
With Todd McClelland, who's known as a pretty hard-nosed coach looking over their shoulders. It's got to change something. And if he doesn't, where does Yzerman go from there?
Yeah, so they've got a lot to play for. Life after Matthews, I suppose. No Matthews tonight or tomorrow. Ovi returning for that one. So both should be pretty solid games. Struddy, really appreciate it. It was a blast, just like it was the other day. And Feschuk, always fun, boys. Always fun.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah.
Great seeing you guys.
Absolutely. We'll be back Monday at 4 p.m. We'll chat then.